Hi, I'm Andrew Simpson with Ether Automation, and in this video, we're going to continue on with our ERP video series for a manufacturer that wants a custom ERP in Zoho Creator. In this video, specifically, we're going to cover a button that we're going to add in that's going to allow employees to complete a work order and have the sales order that's related get updated, update the inventory count, and assign a new work order to that employee so that they know what they're going to work on next, as well as track how long it took to build that work order and the items on that work order for future metrics. So without further ado, let me jump into the coding. Okay, so I'm in Zoho Creator, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new standalone function. So we have these two work orders, and we're going to make a standalone function and then use that standalone function in a button to say that a work order is completed. Click into edit this application, go into workflows, create a function called work order completed. It will be in default, the return type will be void, and then we're going to add an argument for the work order ID, and we're going to make this an int. So now that we have the standalone function, we're going to start with some architecture. So first thing we want to do is get the work order. After that, we're going to want to get the sales order line items related to the work order line items. And then we're going to update the sales order, each line item to completed. And if the sales order is fully assembled, then we're going to mark the sales order as ready to ship. So this here would basically be the step that would allow a manager to ship the sales order. But then we need to have that employee get on a new work order. And so to do that, we're going to update the current work order to completed, and then we're going to get a new work order and assign it to that employee. And then we're going to update the queue. Now, if you look at this, we have this position in queue. Basically, this says the next position, this says the next work order that's going to be assembled. So currently we're on this one, but once this one is done, this one would be the next one. So this would be position 1 in the queue, and then this would be hidden because it's no longer needed. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create something called a work log. And this is going to be used later on in the series when we're trying to calculate how long it actually takes to assemble the product. And to do that, we're going to make the start time the start of the time log for that day, or the work order start time, whatever's more recent. The end time is basically whenever this is run, and then the count of the remaining products in that order. And we're going to dig into this a little further, but if a work order takes 5 days to make, we only need to create the work log for the last day when it was completed. But all the previous products that were assembled are in previous work logs that are part of a future video in this series where employees clock out at the end of each day. And then finally, from the previous video, we're going to update the inventory. So update inventory for each product in work order from last video. And that's the whole function. So let's actually get started on this. Getting the work order, or getting their work order, is the first thing, and it's pretty straightforward. Done. So then we want to get the sales order line items related to each work order item. So I'm going to go for each element in the work order dot assembly line items. We want to update the sales order line items to be completed with the product. So to update that, we are going to find that sales order line item. And then we want to update it with completed products. And then finally, if the sales order is fully ready, we want to update the status. And there we are. So just to reiterate this, we grab each line item in the work order, update the sales order line item to be ready to ship, and this amount has been assembled. And then we check right here we grab the sales order based on the work order, and if all the line items are ready to ship. So if any of them are not ready to ship, based on this up here, it won't update the sales order to ready to ship. So the next thing we want to do is we want to get an unassigned work order, sort by the lowest number in the queue, and then we want to update the work order to assign it to this user, and then update the other queued work orders. And we may also just say update current work order to done. So we'll start with that one. We'll go work order dot status equals completed. Then we want to get all the unassigned work orders. So unassigned work orders. Okay. And so what we're doing here is we're grabbing all the unassigned work orders where the employee is equal to null, and we're sorting by the position in queue. Because it's the lowest number first, we iterate through all of them, and on the first one, assuming it's false, which it is right here, we assign it to the same employee that did the last work order, and then we say that this variable is now true so that it won't go in here again. And then we update all the positions in the queue. Real simple. So finally, we want to create a work log. Now, we haven't talked a whole lot about work logs, so I'm just going to go to the work logs. Now, work log will have a work order, or any number of work orders, an employee, the start time and end time, and then the assembled products. So we're going to do that here, but we're doing this based off of the number up here. So let me kind of dig into it. I'll just describe the code after it's been coded. So we're going to start by creating work log. And to do that, we're going to create a start time and end time. Okay, so this is just going to tell us the start time. We basically search for all start times based on the employee, and we sort by the start time. So if they've clocked in, this is where we want to start the timer. And if whatever one is more recent, either the time they clock in or on the work order start date, we just identify which one is more recent, and then we break through the loop. So we're searching for all of them, but we're basically only doing this for the first one in the list. Down here is the end time, which is whenever they say it's completed. Now we want to get the count of the products on the order. So this is going to be a subform, and we have a previous video about subforms, I think for this project specifically. So if you remember that a subform, to add records into a subform is you want to create rows and insert that into a collection. So let's start by calling this the time or work log collection. Okay, so right here, we're going over each line item in the work order, and we're creating that work log and then inserting it into a collection. And then once we finish with all the work order line items, we insert into a work log. And that's the whole thing. And then down here, we're just going to do this one more time, this loop. And this loop is going to have this function that we made in a previous video, which is update product inventory. And we're going to input the products in there. And there we go. So now when I test it out with the work order, so we're going to use this one here. I'm going to middle click to edit to grab the ID. I'm going to click execute and run it. And there we go. So I'm going to go back to this work order. I'm going to refresh. It's marked as completed. And if I go back to here and I refresh this screen as well, we've got the new item that is now in queue for this employee. And of course, we already did the work with the inventory updating. So we know that's happening in the background. I can go to the sales order line items and we can see these two are, or this is the one that was ready to ship. We've built one, it's ready to ship. Boom, we've got this one thing we can see. so we can see how long products actually take to make as people finish this up. So the last thing I'm just going to do real quick is I'm going to finish this out by having a button that we're going to trigger this by to say it's finished. So on the work order, I'm going to add a layout, and I'll add it right here. And now when I refresh, complete work order. And we're going to style this in a later video, and we'll put the buttons in better places. But when you click that button, this function runs. It updates the work order to completed, creates a work log, assigns a new work order, etc., etc. I hope you found this video helpful. I will see you in the next video.